Stranger Things Season 5 is finally dropping soon, and there's a lot to catch up on. Since then, there have been a ton of new theories, confirmations, and so much more. Here are 5 things you absolutely need to remember, and if you watch till the end, you'll be completely ready to dive into the new season without missing a beat. Hawkins is under quarantine. Many fans expect the group to leave Hawkins in Season 5 and face Vecna from the outside. That won't happen. The military has placed the town under strict quarantine. Hawkins is shut off from the rest of the world. No one is allowed to enter or exit. Every main character is trapped inside. That single detail changes the scale, the tone, and the stakes of the entire season. The roots of this began during the events of Season 4. After years of hiding in the shadows, Vecna finally succeeded. He opened 4 gates across Hawkins, each one tied to a victim he had killed. These gates weren't small tiers in space. They cut through homes, split roads, and collapsed entire buildings. In seconds, the Upside Down broke through the surface. What had been a hidden threat became a full-on disaster. The town was not ready. Families lost their homes. People died. Power went out across neighborhoods. Sirens rang out in every direction. In the chaos, residents looked for someone to blame. Many focused on Eddie Munson, who was already accused of ritual murder. The town believed the gates were connected to satanic worship or a curse. Some called them portals to hell. Others just wanted answers, but none were given. By the time the final episode ended, the military had arrived. Their response was fast and heavy. Troops moved into Hawkins, roads were closed, checkpoints appeared at all entry points, helicopters flew overhead, convoys blocked highways. The government did not explain what happened, they focused on control. Season 5 takes place 1 year later during the fall of 1987. In that time, Hawkins has become unrecognizable. What was once a small town has become a sealed-off zone. The teaser trailer shows that every gate is now covered with thick metal plates, reinforced to prevent anything from passing through. Each one is monitored by soldiers. Leaving town is no longer possible. Even trying would draw immediate attention. Downtown Hawkins is the military center of operations. Their main post is built on the site of the old public library. That building now houses one of the major gates and has been converted for military use. Trucks and heavy equipment pass in and out. The location appears secured with fences and armed guards. This gate is likely a key point in the story, since it offers the only known way into the Upside Down that can support large-scale access. The government's role seems to go beyond containment. In one of the trailer's most talked-about shots, a camera moves through a dimly lit bunker. Inside, rows of young children stand in silence. The purpose of this facility is not explained. Some believe these children are being protected. Others think they are a part of a new program tied to supernatural powers. Nothing confirms this theory, but the visual raises questions. Why are they underground? Why are there so many of them? And what is the government doing behind closed doors? For the main cast, the quarantine locks them in place. They cannot run. Whatever is coming, they have to face it from within. That creates pressure on every level. Their previous victories often depended on outside support, distance, or regrouping. That is no longer an option. The military presence affects daily life. Streets are patrolled and homes are watched. For the people of Hawkins, daily life is over. Now they live inside a town shaped by fear, loss, and control. This setting creates tension that goes beyond the supernatural. The characters must navigate a town on edge, while also preparing to find and kill Vecna. They know the gates are still active. They know the Mind Flayer may still have influence. And they know there will not be another chance if they fail. They have to rely on each other, without resources and without time. For viewers, the quarantine serves a clear purpose. It limits the story's scope. It removes outside noise. It places all attention on this town, this group, and this final battle. There are no distractions, no backup, no help coming from another state. The conflict is focused, personal, and immediate. This only raises the stakes further. But what happens when it gets so dangerous that your only lifeline is a rock station run by 2 teenagers? That's the situation in Stranger Things Season 5. WSQK will play a prominent role. WSQK, a small FM rock station just outside downtown Hawkins, used to be background noise, a place for classic rock, forgotten records, and strange bumper stickers. But in Season 5, it becomes something else entirely. While the rest of Hawkins collapses, WSQK steps into the spotlight. It isn't just a station anymore, it's the last connection anyone has. After the gates opened in Season 4, Hawkins was no longer just another Midwestern town. The earth split open, fires broke out, people died. The military moved in within hours, locking the town down. Nobody in, nobody out. The National Guard rolled tanks through neighborhood streets. Checkpoints popped up at every major road. Entire blocks were abandoned. Homes sat empty. Fear took over. But WSQK kept broadcasting. While the phones went down and the power grid failed in spot, WSQK never went silent. The signal stayed strong. The town might be surrounded, but the airwaves are still wide open. At the center of it all are Steve Harrington and Robin Buckley. The two of them have taken over the station full-time, and somehow they have turned it into something far bigger than just a DJ booth. Every morning, Steve starts the day with the same voice he always had. A little too loud, a little too confident, but now, that energy matters. Good morning, Hawkins. It doesn't just introduce a playlist anymore, it gives people something to hold on to. Robin calls the listeners my fellow quarantine compatriots. It's a joke, but also the truth. Everyone is stuck here together, and WSQK WSQK reminds them of that. The music still plays. You'll hear classic rock and weird deep cuts, but the real reason people tune in is the message. The station is the group's voice. It's how they communicate. It's how they plan. It's how they survive. And the station itself isn't just a building anymore. In the teaser, we see the WSQK van, and it has a giant radio antenna mounted on the roof, so large it looks like it belongs on a military base. Inside, the van is a full setup: microphones, soundboards, and transmission gear. This isn't just about playing records anymore. This is about power, signal strength, and reach. The van lets the group stay mobile. When the military blocks a road or shuts down part of the town, they can still move. They can still broadcast. We see different characters driving it at different times. We see others riding in the back. It becomes a shared space. The van is more than a vehicle, it's a rolling command center. And at some point, the antenna is seen moved onto the top of Steve's car. That means they're adapting. They're not just running a station, they're turning WSQK into a weapon. And that's where things get even stranger. Because this season, the group might not just be broadcasting to Hawkins with a signal that powerful, powered by something much bigger than a car battery. They could be trying to reach the other side. The Upside Down is open now. Gates stretch across the town. The barriers are thin. And for the first time, the group may be able to reach into that dimension without stepping through a gate. If WSQK can cut through the noise, they may be able to send a signal directly into the dark. This opens the door to something the show hasn't done before. We've seen characters communicate across dimensions using lights, radios, and visions, but we've never seen them intentionally broadcast to the Upside Down. If WSQK is capable of that, it could change the way the group fights. They wouldn't need to enter danger. They could influence it from here. They could call out, or worse, something might call back. There's also a line that sticks out. It's been seen numerous times throughout Season 5's production. North 10, 2 hours, class dismissed. On the surface, it's a nonsense, but it doesn't sound random. It sounds like code. That's what WSQK might really be doing behind the scenes, using the broadcast as a way to relay missions, update the group, and stay one step ahead of military surveillance. The signal reaches everyone, but only a few know what it means. That kind of communication is priceless in a town under lockdown. Hawkins is covered in soldiers and barricades. People are afraid to talk. The phones are tapped. But a radio station? That's public. That's always on. And as long as the broadcast keeps going, the group keeps moving. The original WSQK building still plays a role. That's where Steve and Robin run most of the show. We don't know how intact the building is, but we see it several times throughout the teaser, and it looks like everyone visits it at some point. 11. Dustin, Will, Lucas, Nancy. Even if they're not behind the mic, they're there. It becomes the place where plans are made and updated. A home base in a town that no longer feels like home. WSQK is going to surprise people this season. It's not just where the music plays, it's where everything starts. The Mind Flayer is influencing Vecna. The finale of Season 4 probably left most of us with more questions than answers. One of the biggest questions was this: did Vecna create the Mind Flayer? Earlier seasons built the Mind Flayer as the ultimate enemy. It was massive, it controlled Will, it sent out monsters. But Season 4 introduced Vecna, a human villain, someone who appeared to be behind everything all along. That twist changed the story, it flipped the villain hierarchy on its head. So the question now is simple: who is the real big bad of Stranger Things? Our major answer comes from the new stage play entitled Stranger Things: The First Shadow. That play acts as a prequel, takes us back to the 1950s. It revolves around Vecna, or it gives him a backstory, it shows where he came from, it introduces us to Henry, it shows his first contact with the Mind Flayer, and it sets the stage for everything that comes later. In the play, Henry is shown being transported to a place called Dimension X at a young age. He steps into this realm without fully understanding it. There, he encounters the Mind Flayer directly. He sees the creature as an entity of power and terror. He feels its influence. That encounter changes everything. When Henry returns home, he is not the same child. He carries a dark presence inside him. He carries the voice of the Mind Flayer in his head. Even after he comes back to Hawkins, he remains under its influence. He does not fully resist it. Instead, he grows more connected to it. Over time, Henry develops powers, dark powers. He discovers he can change minds. He can control others. He can cause pain with a word. That influence leads him down a dangerous path. Ultimately, he uses his powers against his own family. He kills his mother and sister. Those acts mark a turning point. He embraces the power the Mind Flayer awakened in him. He becomes the human vessel for the Upside Down. He becomes Vecna. Because of that play, we can now assume the Mind Flayer is the real big bad of the show. Even though Vecna looks like he is running things, we know that he was created by the Mind Flayer. The creature influenced him from his youth. The creature shaped him into a weapon. Vecna may act out human motives like revenge and control, but the source of his power is the Mind Flayer. The entity directs him even when he seems to act on his own. That makes it the ultimate antagonist across the series. This also means that when Vecna steps into the spotlight in Season 4, he is not replacing the Mind Flayer. He is the Mind Flayer in human form. His face, his mind, and his motives. When the gates open 11, he used his connection to the Upside Down to tear Hawkins apart, but that connection began long before the gates existed. It began in Dimension X, when he first encountered the creature that would define him. So many moments across the seasons look different in this light. Will's possession in Season 2 becomes more chilling. It was not just a monster taking control, it was the force that shaped Vecna reaching through Hawkins for the first time. In Season 3, when the Mind Flayer builds a body out of people, that action becomes Vecna's work in the shadows. He was practicing. He was rehearsing. The Mind Flayer as a monster started to take shape under his influence. Now that we see the origin in the play, we can trace every major Mind Flayer action back to one cause: Henry Creel's fall. The emotional weight grows. He was a child. He was influenced by something beyond his control, and that influence taught him how to hurt, how to destroy, how to rule. As viewers, our expectations going into Season 5 will shift. We will watch for how Vecna and the Mind Flayer interact. We will ask, is Vecna acting out of personal rage, or is he acting at the behest of something darker? Will we see the Mind Flayer's motives directly, or will it continue to hide behind its human vessel? Is Vecna redeemable in any way, or is he a permanent extension of the Upside Down? The stakes now feel clearer. If the Mind Flayer is the true villain, then stopping Vecna may not stop the threat. The force behind Vecna may still exist. It may still influence new vessels. It may be older than Hawkins itself. That possibility raises the danger for Season 5. It means Hawkins is not just fighting a human wizard. It is fighting an alien, ancient power that can cross dimensions and reshape minds. The play's revelation lets us make new predictions. Season 5 may reveal that Vecna acts under orders he once resisted, or that he still struggles with his humanity. We may see moments where he hesitates, where the human part fights the creature's influence. That would add complexity. It would tie back to the play. It would show that the Mind Flayer, while powerful, still needs a bridge. Henry was that bridge, and that bridge can break. Of course, all of this will depend on how Season 5 handles it. The final season must answer major questions. Will Vecna remain the puppet, or he become the puppeteer? Will the Mind Flayer step out from behind the scenes? Will Hawkins find a way to cut the connection between them? One clear result of this understanding is emotional clarity. Vecna is not just a villain, he is a consequence. He is a creature shaped by a creature. He is the product of Hawkins' darkest openings. That makes his final arc more tragic, and his defeat more necessary. This is what the story always needed. Not just a display of power, but a confrontation with the source of evil, a confrontation with the force that shaped everything. Looking ahead, we must also consider how the characters will respond. 11 has faced the Upside Down before. She has fought the Demogorgon. She has closed gates. Now she must face the Mind Flayer as an idea, not just a monster. She must face the source of Vecna's power. She must confront the force that touched Henry before he ever stepped indeed through a gate. The others must reckon with reality too. They believed they were fighting a monster. This season we'll ask them to face something more abstract, a force that manipulates reality. They must protect Hawkins not from a creature but from an influence that will test every bond, every plan, every sacrifice. So as we head into the final season, we carry with us a new truth. Vecna is not the final form of evil. He is the human part of it. The Mind Flayer is the deeper force. It is older and stranger. It shaped Hawkins long before the laboratory existed. It may outlast Vecna if he falls. That makes the final fight far more dangerous and far more urgent. Stranger Things 5 is the end of the story, and right now, we're starting to see how it all fits together. Hawkins is sealed off. The group is trapped inside. Their only lifeline is a radio station, and the villain they thought they knew might not be the one pulling the strings. Every season has been building to this, and in Season 5, the truth comes out.